Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic Non-Classics. This is episode number 1605 and Doubleshot number 1499. Now, like with the last trade, two trades to different companies. This first one's from Marvel. Yeah, collecting issues from the series Wolverine from the year 2006 to pretty much 2007. We have Wolverine, Civil War, written by Mark Guggenham. Yes, Mark Guggenham writes this book with artwork by Humberto Ramos. Yep. Now, let me look up on here for Mark Guggenham. I think this was the only Wolverine story arc he worked on. Because the guy has done some other comic books besides this one, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is a really good book, by the way. Let's see, for Marvel. They're listed on here, but yeah, I've also reviewed, besides this book, I've also reviewed his run for X-Men, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., X-Men Gold, and I know he worked on one other book besides this one. Yeah, he was pretty much the writer. This was a fill-in story arc he did between Jason Aaron's run for Wolverine. Yeah, this book only contains issues. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah, he also worked on Blade. Let's see if I can find him here. Yeah, these issues, he worked on these issues at the same time he's working on Blade. Yeah, he also worked on Squadron Supreme, Hyperion versus Nighthawk. He worked on the first few issues of Marvel Presents Volume 2. I mean, he's worked on some issues of Wolverine here and there, like a couple of issues of Wolverine. Yeah, working on a story known as Logan Dies. Yeah, that'll be eventually something I will cover. Now, this particular book is quite... it's a bit frustrating reading this book because of the not only the time period it came out, because of how characters are written. And it seems as though the way Guggenham writes this book, Wolverine is the only character who's written to be in character. Because this book obviously is a Civil War 1 tie-in. By the way, did Wolverine have a tie-in to Civil War 2? No. But his other did. Yes, and a very stupid tie-in, by the way. Yeah, we're involved. The Old Man Logan is showing up, and like they had to prevent him from trying to kill Gabby. He kind of stabs Gabby. Gabby survives anyway because she's got a healing factor. It was a tie-in that was completely unnecessary. But my guess is, the reason why they had it was because Wolverine had a tie-in to Civil War 1. Now, the book starts out with basically him at a bar. By the way, I should point out that a lot of the tie-ins, the covers look like this, where like half the cover is like this. Now, according to Steve McNiven, the guy who worked on the main miniseries, the reason why a lot of the covers look like this, where like half the cover is basically like the picture, and they have this like blank bottom. According to Steve McNiven, that was actually editorial mandate for this particular event, and all the tie-ins reflect this. Heck, even the Secret Wars miniseries had the very same style covers. Now, Steve McNiven did not work on these covers. No, I don't think he did. Okay. As far as I can tell, he never worked on these issues. No, not that I can think of. Like, let's see. The cover art here, they don't list the cover arts, but I think it's probably... Okay, it's Humberto Ramos who did the covers here. Mostly put Wolverine is called to Stanford because wrath events of during just in the aftermath of Civil War 1, number 1, where Nitro blew up Stanford. And here's the dumb thing about this. Does anybody go after him? No. It's like Iron Man, the way he's written this book, and a lot of other tie-ins, he'd rather focus on arresting his friends and go after the man who actually caused this event. And he tells Wolverine, leave it alone. And Wolverine's like, heck no, I'm not leaving alone. I'm not leaving the guy who caused death of 600 people, including kids. So he goes out and he finds him. Finds him it takes him a little bit, but he does find Nitro. He gets a fight with him. He basically survives 3 explosions from the man, because he still has to be able to blow himself up. And when he goes to capture him, to basically possibly be tried, then these 3 random people show up. It turns to these people actually Atlanteans. Yes, Atlanteans. Where he gets it, like, apparently these Atlanteans were sent by Namor himself, because one of the people that Nitro killed was member of the royal family, aka Nemertita. Yep. Though here's one thing I did not like about this, and I should point out though, Atlanteans don't look like this in our books, just as basically as the one here. This is by far a very baffling thing. Like, why the heck someone at Marvel thought Atlanteans look like this? By the way, Nitro is dealt with in the first, 3 issues. And by the way, the Atlanteans look like this. Now, I should point out, though, Atlanteans never had these marks on them before this event and afterwards. And for some reason, the artist who drew New Warriors Volume 3 decided to get number 2 a redesign, even though it was completely unnecessary. Because if the artist bothered to read any of the previous books number 2 appeared in, she looked perfectly normal. Yeah, she had gills, but she not even have blue skin. I mean, the only character who did was I think was Willer Krang, I think it was. The one who later became the Counselor for War for Namor during the first ongoing series for Namor. So yeah, Nitro is dragged to Atlantis, and of course, Wolverine, thanks to stealing an Iron Man armor, goes to Atlantis, beats the crap out of him, and of course allows Nitro to stay there. And then he started investigating what caused Nitro to basically go kaboom the way he did. The mutant growth hormone. Yes, the mutant growth hormone. You're probably thinking, what the heck is that? This was a drug that was introduced in this very decade. I believe it was, I thought it was in there. No, it was a Jerry Conway character. It became more prevalent recently. Yeah, it's become much more popular recently. But yeah, it was Jerry Conway who created this drug when it first popped up in Amazing Avengers number 11. And you're thinking, that's when Mutant Homer first showed up? Yes, seriously. That's when it first showed up. It became a lot more, let's just say, more prevalent in recent times. Because its appearance is very sporadic. It'll pop up here and there. It pops up in Iron Man, pops up in Amazing Avenger, in the Alias series, pops up here and there. But yeah, so the person who turns out supplied Nitro with mutant hormone turns out to be the CEO of Damage Control. Which, here's a fun fact to you about Damage Control. A lot of the time they only appeared in their own miniseries. Yeah, that's the weird thing about Damage Control. They mostly appear just in their own miniseries. They very rarely appeared outside of their own miniseries whenever they popped up over the years. Mostly Damage Control, what they do is they clean up superhero messes. Yeah, and this is one of the rare appearances they made when they're not appearing in someone else's, when not appearing in their own miniseries. And this is actually a prevalent story where apparently this guy named Duncan McKeed, I think his name is, where he's one who supplied Nitro with it, and instead of basically, and Wolverine in costume, says, I'm here to see Duncan. I don't have an appointment. And then he basically is intimidating the secretary. And he sees the woman who happened to be the president of the company. He says, "You're not Duncan. Where's Duncan? I want to see him." He's busy. What do you want to talk about? Let me go home and the fact it's applied to the guy who blew up Stamford, Connecticut. And of course, he briefly gets thrown out. Wolverine gets taken into custody by S.H.I.E.L.D. Then he breaks out, and he breaks back into damage control, beats the crap out of Duncan. He, of course, is handed into custody, never seen again, mind you. Yes, he is never seen again after this particular two-parter wraps up. Well, that's because he died. Yep, he died. Well, he did come back after this. Like, he popped up in a few other books. Like, after the story wrapped up, he popped up in the Amazing Spider-Man Annual. And he also popped up in issue Amazing Spider-Man, 3 issues of Black Panther, and appeared in Doom War. Oh, by the way, his last appearance in Doom War number 6, that was 11 years ago. That was the last time he physically appeared in comics. Yeah. But in the case of that, and of course the final, of course that wraps up issue 47. 48 is a bit of a recap issue of this entire story arc, where he's telling this to a Atlantean woman Wolverine is telling this to a woman he just slept with, which, from appearance wise, it could be the same woman he met when he was encountering Nitro. He's like, "Why'd you tell me? Like, who else am I going to tell?" He's like, "Okay." And this woman is never seen again. I don't think Wolverine ever encounters this woman ever again. Yeah, it's by far one of the most weirdest tie-ins I've ever seen. It's called Vendetta. And of course, it's just the epilogue of this whole thing. And her name is Amir. Which she later died after this. But yes, besides Iron Man being written to be a completely out character in here, we also have Cyclops written out of character. Yes, where he refers to "don't help the humans." Yeah, apparently Guggenham did not know how. I don't know what was going on with the writing for this book when it came to that, because that is not how Cyclops talks. Like, refer to people who are not humans as humans, not mutants as humans. Yeah, it's almost like that Guggenham did not know what he was like. He was probably told to write him that way, because I was not a fan of how Scott Summers like telling Wolverine to stay out of the whole thing hunting for Nitro. Why? This is by far one of the most baffling things. I mean, why would Cyclops, a guy who usually is defended for mutant rights and an upholder of Charles Xavier's dream, why would he not help people, like help humans, like make that bridge? Why would he not do this? Like, it isn't basically the X-Men at this point supposed to help people, not basically stay neutral and not interfere with human affairs, even if mutants are in fact humans? It is one of the most baffling things about this storyline. Is I get the fact Iron Man is written the way he is because that's how Mark Millar was writing him in the main miniseries, but why the heck would Cyclops talk this way for? Telling Wolverine to stay out of hunting for frickin' Nitro, the man who started this whole entire frickin' event. And by the way, here's the thing about this. The event concluded 14 years ago, and Nitro, to this very day, has never once been upon trial for the massacre of Stamford. The Stamford massacre. He's never put upon trial. Despite the fact people know the fact he actually committed those murders, he's never been tried for those murders. Nope, never has. I'm like, really? You keep him in jail and you don't have a trial for him? Like, oh, let's just have it where we have fight each other over a stupid bill. Then, you know, going after a murderer. Yeah, at least Mark Guggenham basically had the sense of right Wolverine that way. Yeah, and it's kind of weird, though, about this. Nitro, who appears in the very first issue of Civil War 1, and they never bring him up in the main book. Like, unless you read the tie-ins, you would not know Nitro, because after this, he will show up in Penance Relentless miniseries, where he briefly put in the suit that Penance was wearing. The first suit he was wearing, this of course is a form of Speedball, And then he popped up here and there afterwards. Yes. But yeah, that's pretty much Nitro for you. Well, Nitro, excuse me. Well, actually, he did pop up in the Mary miniseries, Penance. Somebody joined up with, like, of all things, like, the Hood. Yeah, he popped up with the Hood for some reason. And then he popped up in Pleasant Hill. And now he's currently on the run after Vengeance Secret Empire. It's like Marvel just didn't know what to do with the character at all. Yeah. I'm going to give this book roughly a... well, it's got good artwork per se, despite like I'm not all the big fan of Virtual Ramos, but it's a good story, and it felt totally make much sense. But I do get a couple points off for... Well, in the case of Iron Man, the way he's written here, I'm not going to point off for that. I'm going to get a point off for how Cyclops is written here. Cyclops and Emma Frost, where they completely out of character compared to how they're written in other books. Yep. So, next up is, I'm going to give the book an 8 out of 10. Next up is Swords of Sorrow, The Complete Saga by Gail, Simone, and more. The stars of this book are Dodger Torres, Vampirella, Red Sonja, Jungle Girl. It's a lot of women here. We also have Kato, the female Kato. Yeah, this Kato is a creation of Kevin Smith. We also have Lady Zorro, Lady Rawhide, Miss Fury, Jennifer Blood, a whole bunch of characters. Now, the main story is done by Gail Simone. These are your other writers. Almost all these people are women. Yep, Emily Babby, Marguerite Bennett, met her, awesome person. Nancy A. Collins, Mike Kittle, Lee Moore, Margaret Scott, Erica Schultz, and G. Willow Wilson. And artwork by Sergio De Villa, Dave Acosta, Marco Savo, Ronson Falery, Francisco Mana, Rod Rufio, Noah Segoya, and Cesar Zora. Now, these are your books. You have the 6-issue miniseries of Swords of Sorrow. You have Swords of Sorrow, Black Sparrow, and Lady Zorro, Chaos prequel. Yeah, Chaos. She actually recently had a team-up miniseries with Vampirella. You have Dodger Torres and Irene Adler. In this book, you have Irene Adler actually going to Mars and meeting Dodger Torres, and Dodger thinking that she's an assassin, even though she really isn't. And they have it where Irene Adler is like a spy who works for the British government, and they kind of confirmed she's actually dating Sherlock Holmes. We also have Masquerade and Kato. Yeah, this was a really weird miniseries. Miss Fury and Lady Rawhide. Panther and Jane Porter. Jane Porter is the wife of Tarzan. Yep, the wife of Tarzan. Isn't that awesome? Red Sonja and Jungle Girl, and Vampirella and Jennifer Blood. Yeah, this is quite interesting though. Like, whenever Vampirella works people in this book, like, everyone thinks because she's a vampire, she just automatically goes off the blood. But here's the thing. Vampirella is an alien. She's an alien vampire from a world known as Jack Cool, and the whole planet, all the waters are filled with rivers of blood. So it's perfectly natural for her to do this. Mm-hmm. Yep. And these are your bad guys. The Prince, Bad Kitty, Chastity, Mistress Hell, and Bagori. Good guys. The Traveler, Courier, Dodger Torres, Red Sun, and Vampirella. Athena. Yes, I think this is actually the character who actually popped up in her own series briefly. Excuse me, Black Sparrow. Eva, daughter of Dracula. Irene Adler, Jane Porter, Jennifer Blood, John Girl, Kato, Lady Rawhide, Lady Zora, Masquerade, Miss Fury, Parthia, Red, Voodoo's Child, and Lordla. The thing with Miss Fury is basically she's like a golden age Catwoman for pulp. She's like a pulp version of Catwoman. And in her second volume for Dynamite, she actually relates it with a guy who has scarred face. And the book had notorious. It was also notorious for nudity in the book, because in a couple of the issues, you actually saw Miss Fury's rear end, like her actual butt in the book, because like she had this thing where after she slept with her guy, and she just basically looked out the window and she's completely naked. And this is of course 1940s. Well, 1940s New York. Yep. But this book is just so awesome. Having all these characters work together for this big epic story. And their interactions are so hilarious. Like you have Red Sonja go to Mars and meeting Dodger Taurus, where of course they have fighting each other first. And then she says, Dodger Taurus, yes, I hate your planet. And she's like, understood. Yes, of course she understands the fact that because she's an alien. I mean, her husband is an alien too from her perspective. Her husband is John Carter. Now, here's a weird thing about John Carter that very rarely people bring up. He's Tarzan's brother. So basically, that makes him Jane Porter's brother-in-law. And here's the weird thing, though. Jane herself never interacts with Dodge Taurus in this book. Despite the fact, technically, because if in fact John Carter is in fact Tarzan's brother, that means that Dodge Taurus is her sister-in-law. I mean, that's the thing with Tarzan and John Carter. They marry beautiful women. One is the apprentice of the planet. The other is basically some rich girl. Yep. Yeah. So it's all about time traveling and all of a sudden being like everyone like episode fighting each other first, and slowly through this whole entire event, people start teaming with each other. The two people who team with frequently afterwards, after this event wrapped up, will be Vampirella and Red Sonja. These two would team up several times. Like they actually had two ongoing series team with each other at the same time. One is Vampire Red Sonja, and that was Vampire Red Sonja along with Betty and Veronica. Yes. So that was the only team that came out of this particular event that would still frequently team up. Heck, they would team up in this whole like power stuff, which later to One Shot, which still has not been released yet recently. But this book is just so good. Like these writers, these female writers, all had a lot of from what I can tell, they had fun doing this book. This book was purely amazing. Like, you gotta read this book to basically understand how awesome this is. A group of female pulp heroes all teaming up to take on like some sorcerer. It felt so good to read this book. Like, if you want to read a really good crossover event that's not like Civil War 1 or some stuff from Marvel, check this book out. It is purely amazing. By the way, the complete Saga book is 530 pages, but it's well worth it because it's a long event. And I remember this book came out, like, guys, remember, like, this book was, like, so good. And this book had, like, a few miniseries, like, nothing ongoing tiny this surprisingly. It was all, like, the main miniseries plus a series of miniseries, a few one-shots. But this book is just so good. And I'm going to give this book a 10 out of 10 because it's that damn good. Mm-hmm. Yes, and here's something really weird, though, about this particular event. With this, aside from the fact it would spark later on team-ups with Vampire and Red Sonja, none of the other characters actually appear much after this. Kato herself will appear in like one Green Hornet book after this, but that's it for her. Jane Porter and Irene Adler, as far as I can tell, these two never appeared after this. Anybody thinking, okay, what about Lady Rawhide and Lady Zoro? Nope. A lot of the other characters didn't do much after this, just Red Sonja and Vampirella. These are the only characters who appeared in this very event. Actually, Dodge Taurus is also active too. These three women are the only women still active in Dynamite right now. Because right now, Dynamite has no book for the Shadow, no book for Green Hornet, no Lone Ranger, just Vampirilla, Red Sonja. Recently they brought back Jennifer Blood. Yes, she just came back with another ongoing series. So just Jennifer Blood, Red Sonja, Vampirilla, Daja Torres. These 4 new women are still active. We also have Army of Darkness published right now for Dynamite. But no other famous pulp books they publish over the years. Heck, there's none of the Gold Key books they're publishing. Oh, I give this book a 10 out of 10. It's just that good. It's so freaking good. Yep. But yeah, not much to say about this. Just good. Okay, so that's a single review, and that's probably going to be a video today because I don't have any more plans for videos today. So, until you see you all in my next video, would probably maybe tomorrow, even though I don't have any videos planned for tomorrow, but unless I manage to do a video today, this is going to be pretty much it for today until, like, I mean, there's nothing really majorly planned for tomorrow or Wednesday for that matter. Thursday, yes, because I do have one video to do that day, but otherwise right now, no videos planned, but these 2 are definitely pre-planned to do today. So, see you in the next video. Bye.